An emotional day in Coffeyville, Kansas, as a four-state hero is laid to rest after 68 years. I'm Zach Dodge with the story.
Plus, Nevada, Missouri's LGBTQ+ community makes history today by throwing the city's first ever Pride Festival, and we're checking it out. And volunteers from the James River Church in Joplin partnered with the Joplin School District for the third annual day of service, and you're going to learn what they were up to. Meteorologist Nick Kelly has your weather. Danny Terzer's on sports. I'm Mike Mahoney, and this is your KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14.
The four states' most watched news starts now.
Well, thanks so much for tuning in. Unfortunately, we begin the night on some sad news. A police officer in Pea Ridge, Arkansas was killed today. KFSM reports Officer Kevin Dale Apple was killed in an incident while on duty. They say at approximately 11:24 a.m., Pea Ridge police were informed about a suspicious vehicle. Officers located the vehicle, but when they attempted to approach it, the vehicle rammed into a police car and ran over Officer Apple, killing him. We'll have the latest details tonight on the KOAM News at 10 with Chris Warner. Heavy rains led to flash flooding in the four-state area, resulting in evacuations in Seneca. The Lost Creek in Seneca began to rise rapidly this morning, with the Seneca Area Fire Protection District and the Seneca Police Chief taking to social media and notifying people that evacuations were underway. Officials were also going around the community and evacuating people as needed.
My friend Mike Steele from the funeral home called me this morning and said that water was starting to come up pretty fast and he needed some help, so I came down. We started sandbagging, getting everything, try to keep it dry. Several of the businesses in town did get a lot of water.
With more rain on the way, officials say it's important to stay alert for rapidly changing conditions. A boil water advisory has been issued for the city of Sarcoxy. The city posted on their Facebook page that the city's well pump had taken a hit as a result of the recent storms, which resulted in low water pressure throughout the city. The city posted this evening that the well has been repaired. However, the boil advisory will remain in effect until at least Tuesday. Officials will be working with the Missouri Department of Natural Resources to get the order rescinded. All right, speaking of weather, let's check in with meteorologist Nick Kelly. Nick.
Yeah, we had quite a bit of rain to deal with this morning, Mike, and it wasn't just Seneca. Joplin had its fair share too, with over 3 inches of rain for today. That puts us over 26 inches for the year so far. But as far as temperatures go, it helped us out. We topped out at 83 today, better than the 90s yesterday after we started at 68. Let's show you this amazing round after round of heavy rainfall, maybe some strong thunderstorms. You can see what it left behind. On the average, almost 2.8 inches, but we see the big bullseye along 44 over Seneca and some of our northern counties as well. And that is why we're seeing quite a bit of flood warnings and flash flood watches still holding on until tomorrow at the latest. But as long as our main storm system is parked right on top of the region, we've got more rain chances on the way for tonight and tomorrow as we wrap up the weekend, Mike. We'll just see how long the rain chances will last into the week ahead here in just a bit.
Sounds like a plan, Nick. Thanks as always. Folks in Nevada, Missouri lucked out today as the wet weather didn't ruin the fun at the town's first ever Pride Festival. There was a ton of cool stuff for visitors to check out, including local vendors, local food, activities for the kids, and a whole lot more. But one of the co-hosts tells KOAM she's really happy with the festival's turnout because the people who attend are what truly make it special.
I just thought it was really important that we do something like a festival to not only unite our community, but to show especially the younger kids that they're not alone. There's a ton of us out here. There's a ton of love and support. Nevada as a city has come so far and is growing in such a progressive direction, and we just want to come out here today and celebrate that.
Organizers say they want to make the Nevada Pride Festival an annual tradition. Collectors Unite. Today was the third Joplin Collectors Expo, the first since the pandemic and the first mini expo they've tried. The mini expo was held at Cecil Floyd Elementary School in Joplin. More than 20 vendors were on hand showcasing a variety of collectible items. A few people even dressed up for the event. That's always fun. Organizers say they wanted to start small after last year's pause.
Since we haven't had one, I just kind of wanted to have a smaller one and see how it went. And this is strictly vendors, so the bigger show will have like a cosplay contest, battle bots, and stuff like that.
Miller says they're hoping to have that bigger show this October. Volunteers from the James River Church in Joplin partnered with the Joplin School District for the third annual day of service, which included a number of projects to help the district. KOM's Chris Warner has more.
James River Church has been in the Joplin community for 3 years, and each of those years they've picked a group for their day of service. This year it was the Joplin School District with a focus on the Roy S. Wood campus at 15th and Connecticut.
The way it works is we come to the district and we say, how can we help you this year? What are projects you'd like to do, but maybe it's not in your budget to do it, or maybe you just don't have the time, and we bring in volunteers and we knock out those projects for them in a single day.
Superintendent Dr. Melinda Moss says she's honored James River picked them for Saturday's work.
It's just a tangible way that our community is showing yet again how much they care for Joplin schools and are here to serve, and on a rainy, wet Saturday, they have had record numbers come out.
Dr. Moss says it's something that will have a long-term impact when everyone gets back to class in the fall.
It's a message to our students and our faculty and staff that, hey, Joplin schools, we really care and we want to make your surroundings even more pleasant, and the kids notice it and the teachers notice it, and it builds morale.
Jahanshire says this project is a great life lesson to the kids helping out as well.
Yeah, I think that's huge for kids to be able to come alongside and to be in the schools alongside parents, painting, seeing why it's so important to volunteer and to give back to the community. I think makes a difference in their life for the years to come.
In Joplin, Chris Warner, KOAM News.
Today's work also included landscaping at the Roy S. Wood campus, as well as a deep cleaning of the district's 70-plus buses. A four-state hero is laid to rest on American soil after being considered missing in action for more than 60 years. KOAM's Zach Dodge gives us a look at the emotional service.
Tears of pain as emotional scars from long ago are reopened.
We are all very proud of your service, Uncle Billy.
And tears of joy after decades without true closure.
Been a long time getting here.
Bill Fremont Hobbs grew up in northeast Oklahoma and Coffeyville, Kansas. In 1948, at the age of 18, he joined the Army and was sent to North Korea. Only 2 short years after enlisting, the worst happened.
While on a mission near Chosin Reservoir, he was driving a heavy mortar ammunition truck when he was bombed, and the truck blew up, taking his life.
Following the battle, his remains could not be recovered. It wouldn't be until decades later, following the summit between President Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, that 55 boxes containing American remains were released to the U.S. Hobbs' remains were in the 50th. His brother Charles says after all that time, their hopes of finding him had worn thin.
And up till the last 2 or 3 years, we had given up hope.
But now he's finally back in his hometown and given the honor he deserves.
A good soldier of Jesus Christ must also be focused. He must not be distracted by other things as he fights this spiritual war. Billy, who we honor today, had this same focus. He loved his family and his life, but he was willing to lay his feelings aside and to serve a greater good of his country.
And his family finally gets to remember him by doing something some may take for granted: visit his grave.
He was there because he figured it was his duty. But I'm glad he's home. You know, you kindly give up everything again when they write and tell you that it's gone. So, but we know where he's at now, and I can take him right to his grave.
In Coffeyville, Zach Dodge, KOAM News.
It's now time for us to honor one of our many four-state heroes, and tonight we recognize Nathan Swartz of Pittsburgh, Kansas. Swartz served as a corporal in the U.S. Army and he fought in Afghanistan. Thank you, sir, for your service and for fighting for freedom. For more information on all our four-state heroes or to nominate your own, just log on to KOAMNewsNow.com. We'll be right back with meteorologist Nick Kelly and another look at your weather. Plus, the drought that's scorching western states is starting to creep into the Midwest, and farmers are concerned. We're taking a closer look right after weather.
This turned out to be quite an eventful day, mainly during the overnight and morning hours when we had several rounds of moderate to heavy rainfall roll on through. A couple of them right over our time lapse of Indigo Sky Casino and Resort outside of Seneca, Missouri. It was nice to see some breaks in the rain chances and breaks in the cloud cover today because we needed it after we dealt with some strong to even severe thunderstorms to start yesterday evening out. But if we rewind the Skywatch storm tracker, that was one band of moderate to heavy rainfall, another band of moderate to heavy rainfall coming out of central and northeastern Oklahoma. Just led to a lot of rain just within the past 24 hours. 2.9 inches of rain on the average across the entire area. But needless to say, there were some hot spots of more intense rainfall, going to 3.6 inches in Sarcoxy, almost 8 inches around Seneca, 3.5 in Miami, 6 inches in Veneta. And some of our northern counties saw quite a soaking as well, from 5 inches in Lamar to 3 inches in Fort Scott, pushing almost 8 inches around Ladore, Kansas, or areas just north of Parsons as you work through in Neosho County on the Kansas side. So it's no wonder that all this rain has led to flood warnings that will continue into tomorrow, but flash flood and regular flood watches for everybody else, because unfortunately we are not done with our rain chances. It was nice to see a little break in the action this afternoon, but ever since the evening got underway, we've been seeing more thunderstorms and rain start to develop along the Kansas-Oklahoma border. Fortunately, there is one good thing that the storm system did is knock our temperatures down, especially when you compare our highs in the mid-90s yesterday. After we started in the lower 60s, make that upper 60s to near 70 this morning. It was nice to see temperatures back at least into the lower to middle 80s all across the board. But let's break down our weather setup. We are going to continue to see rain and thunderstorm chances fill in across Oklahoma and into Missouri overnight, as long as our main storm system at the surface is going to stick around. And let me tell you, this is not in a hurry to move along. When you couple that with an active upper level setup, especially this upper low in the northern plains, it is setting us up for days of rain chances in our forecast, and that does include tonight and our Sunday. Here's the overnight by 3 a.m. A good area of rain and thunderstorms, nothing severe, but again, the strongest of these storms, just more moderate to heavy rainfall that we don't need. Our rain chances will continue through the morning, maybe a little break in the afternoon to start it out at least, before we see another round of thunderstorms develop as we go into late afternoon into the evening. 69 in the morning, 78 by noon. I think we'll see highs back near 83 degrees as we head into Sunday afternoon. And then as we head towards Sunday night and Monday morning, we'll have some scattered storms possible to start the morning drive out. And then another chance for some scattered storms with highs again staying in the 80s. So just within the next 2 days alone, the rain chances are going to be up there in spots where on the low end we could see about ½ an inch to almost 2 inches, but any heavier pockets we could see those amounts push up to about 3 inches of rainfall. So as we roll in the 7-day forecast, the rain chances unfortunately stick with us, but at least it keeps temperatures in check. 83 Sunday, 84 Monday, lower to middle 80s continue through Thursday. Then the system finally starts to get out of here on Friday with highs near 84, and we'll start to dry out with highs near 80 on Saturday, Mike.
Well, thanks as always, Nick. And Nick, we've got a story here I'm sure you've been following. A severe drought continues to impact states in the western part of the country, and it's creeping into the Midwest as well. Farmers in Iowa are going weeks without rain, and it's hurting their crops. Fox News' Katie Byrne takes a look.
There's a lot riding on our success or failure for this fall.
Pat Merkin has been farming since he was 8 years old.
Well, I was kind of born into it. It's just a part of me.
His main crops are corn and soybeans.
Let's go down here.
It's growing season for both of them, and drought conditions in the state aren't helping.
If you dig down, it's all dry. There's no moisture.
Most of his corn goes to a nearby ethanol plant where it's made into fuel. The rest is sold to a co-op where it's ground up to feed cattle.
The corn is not a dark green, it's a light green. It's being stressed. And I learned that from my grandfather.
Merkin started noticing dryness in March.
See the stress of the leaves? They are not healthy, and the beans did not come up evenly.
After weeks of no rain, they got a spotty shower, but he still doesn't think it's enough.
I really feel we're going to have a loss of our crops of about 20 to 25%.
Now we've got one of the driest Junes on record so far.
Iowa Secretary of Agriculture Mike Naig is hopeful farmers can still make a comeback if the rain cooperates.
We lead the nation in corn production. We're number 2 in soybean, but we also have a lot of livestock in the state of Iowa that use that corn and soybean for feed. And so really it impacts our agriculture as a whole.
As much as 95% of the state is in some kind of drought classification.
Right now it's dry. We need to have a turnaround in terms of the rainfall that we've seen, and hopefully that can happen.
It's stress all the way around. Stress on corn, stress on soybeans, and stress on the farmers.
That farmer, Pat Merkin, usually grows about 24,000 bushels of corn. He thinks he's going to lose a fourth of it, which means he says he'll work for free this year. In Des Moines, Iowa, Katie Byrne, Fox News.
When we return, we'll update you on the tragic Florida condo building collapse that happened earlier this week.
An engineering firm reported serious concerns about the condo building here in South Florida years before its collapse this week. I'm Lauren Blanchard. I'll have the latest on the search and rescue efforts ongoing right now.
A newly released report details extensive structural damage that had been recorded at a Florida condo building years before it collapsed this week. As of now, more than 100 people are still unaccounted for. Fox News' Lauren Blanchard has the latest.
Officials here are holding out hope as the search for survivors enters day 3. Crews are working around the clock to find anyone still trapped in what remains of the 12-story building.
Our top priority now continues to be search and rescue. We're looking for people alive in the rubble. That is our priority.
Search and rescue teams are using dogs, infrared, and heavy equipment looking for any potential pockets in the rubble where someone could still be alive. A fire smoldering underneath the wreckage has been hindering their efforts.
As we continue removing debris, the smoke has been picking up. As I stated earlier, we're also dealing with a deep-seated fire, smoldering fire, but obviously producing a lot amount of smoke.
A newly released report from an engineering consulting firm found major structural damage to the building back in 2018. The report found water damage from the pool deck had severely deteriorated several concrete slabs beneath the building. A lawyer for the building's condo board says major repairs were in the works for this year. Now there are concerns about the condo's sister building right down the street.
It was built at the same time with the same designer, and I know they are considering potentially evacuating them.
Investigators have yet to determine an official cause for the building collapse. They say the process could take months. In Surfside, Florida, Lauren Blanchard, Fox News.
Earlier today, a hot air balloon crashed in New Mexico, leaving 4 people dead and 1 person in critical condition. The balloon reportedly hit power lines in Albuquerque, causing the basket to fall around 100 feet and crash into the road before catching on fire. That crash also caused more than 13,000 homes to lose power. The cause of the crash is currently under investigation. We've got the latest from the world of U.S. politics right after this short break. And we'll be taking a closer look at the Vice President's recent trip to the U.S.-Mexico border. That story and more are next. Welcome back to your News at 9. President Biden is trying to make peace with Republicans who are accusing him of using the compromise they reached with Democrats on his infrastructure plan as a way to push through another big spending proposal. The president went so far as to issue a clarification explaining where he stands on the issue. Fox News' Mark Meredith has the details.
President Biden is trying to keep his bipartisan infrastructure deal alive. He's issuing a new statement of support for the proposal after some Republicans accused him of a bait and switch only hours after reaching a consensus on the deal. The president's up at Camp David for the weekend, but his mind appears to be focused back on politics in Washington. He's once again speaking out in support of the $1.2 trillion compromise. The president has long made it clear new infrastructure investments is a top priority, and he says that has not changed. Biden writes, quote, "The bottom line is this. I gave my word to support the infrastructure plan, and that's what I intend to do. I intend to pursue the passage of that plan, which Democrats and Republicans agreed to on Thursday, with vigor. It would be good for the economy, good for our country, good for our people. I stand fully behind it without reservation or hesitation." On Thursday, the president appeared to spook some Republicans when he suggested he would not sign an infrastructure proposal, that is, unless Congress also approved a much larger spending bill tied to Democratic priorities. Republican leaders, they did not hold back with their criticism. Here's what House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy had to say on Friday.
and say you can't have a deal of $1 trillion on infrastructure, but you got to vote for $5 trillion the same time too, and you got to raise taxes on everybody, and you've got to have a Green New Deal. I don't think that's going to work. I don't think that's going to pass, and I think they killed any opportunity. I think it was disingenuous in every shape or form.
We'll have to wait to see if Republicans will buy the president's latest clarification. We know he's going to be hitting the road starting next week, making a stop in Wisconsin, trying to drum up support for these proposals. The White House says the president will also be on the phone in the week ahead, making sure Republicans as well as Democrats stick to this latest infrastructure agreement. At the White House, Mark Meredith, Fox News.
Earlier today, members of more than 50 civil rights, voter rights, and racial justice organizations held a rally in support of making Washington, D.C. a state. The event came at the tail end of the Freedom Ride for Voting Rights organized by the group Black Voters Matter. Organizers say the rally was the first major demonstration advocating for D.C. statehood to be organized by national organizations working in solidarity with local activists. Vice President Kamala Harris visited the southern border for the first time since being tapped to lead the Biden administration's response to the migrant crisis. Fox News' Peter Ducey has an update from El Paso.
I hope this does not sound trite or corny, that we have the capacity to give people hope.
Closest the vice president got to the border was the inside of a DMV-like port of entry where people can walk across and apply for asylum.
We have a line that never stops.
The vice president didn't spend much time at all talking about illegal border crossers, instead focusing on the humanitarian impact of recent surges.
This issue cannot be reduced to a political issue.
But that's what she did at times.
It is here in El Paso that the previous administration's child separation policy was unveiled.
Blaming the Trump administration for increased migration.
We inherited a tough situation.
Questions about why the VP visited El Paso, hundreds of miles away from the busiest border crossings, have been answered.
I recommended to the Vice President that we visit El Paso because it is one of the busiest sectors on the border.
Busy is good, according to the local Democratic Congresswoman.
Welcome to El Paso. Welcome to my community, to the new Ellis Island.
The counterpoint comes from Senator Ted Cruz. Quote, communities like El Paso are struggling because of the damage the Biden-Harris administration has caused by opening the floodgates to human smugglers and drug cartels.
Honestly, this is a slap in the face to the men and women that are out there putting their lives on the line each and every day for at least 10 hours a day in areas which are a lot busier than where she's going. She's getting the dog and pony show.
Even though the vice president has long publicly claimed her focus is not on the border, she says her trip to a border town was a long time coming.
How did you decide that right now was the right time to make your first trip to the border?
Well, it's not my first trip. I've been to the border many times.
As the person in charge of the response.
So, the important aspect of this visit is leading this visit after the work that we did in Guatemala and Mexico. Because as I've long said, I said back in March I was going to come to the border, so this is not a new plan.
The vice president did not mention anything about those videos we've seen lately of smugglers freely ferrying people and drugs into the country, and she did not explain what she would like to do to beef up security at the most porous parts of the border. Instead, her focus is more on trying to figure out why people leave home in the first place. In El Paso, Texas, Peter Ducey, Fox News.
We'll be right back with more news. Welcome back to your News at 9. Caregiving during the coronavirus pandemic weighed heavily on women, tallying to more than 150 hours of unpaid work. The Center for Global Development gathered data from the UN and other agencies from January to October 2020 and found women did 173 hours of work without pay compared to 59 hours for men. In low and middle income countries, rates were even higher. Women did 217 hours of extra free labor and men added 70 hours. Rate disparity between women and men was highest in India. The center estimated that there was a total of 615 billion hours of unpaid pandemic childcare. Well, stay right there. We've got a lot more news headed your way, as well as another look at your weather with meteorologist Nick Kelly and your KOAM Sports Report with Danny Terzer. That's all coming up right here on your KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14. And when we return, we've got an update on the government's infamous UFO report. And for many Americans, the government report on UFOs that was released earlier this week raised more questions than answers. That's coming up. For many Americans, the government report on UFOs that was released earlier in this week raised more questions than answers. Dozens of UFO sightings remain a mystery even to our government. Fox News' Lucas Tomlinson has an update.
This UFO report is likely to leave many people unsatisfied. The evidence is largely inconclusive. U.S. government says it has little explanation for 143 sightings since 2004. The unclassified report from the Director of National Intelligence warns these unidentified objects, quote, clearly pose a safety of flight issue and may pose a challenge to U.S. national security. These observations could be the result of sensor errors, spoofing, or observer misperception and require additional rigorous analysis. This recently declassified video from a Navy fighter jet 6 years ago off the coast of Florida reignited the public's interest in UFOs.
My gosh! They're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west. Look at that thing, dude. It's rotating. Oh my gosh, dude. Wow, look at it fly.
Texas Congressman Brian Babin weighed in.
I'm of the opinion that simply as the report says, we don't have enough data. Is it extraterrestrials? I don't know. I sure hope not. I can tell you that.
Senator Marco Rubio, who pushed for this report, says it's just the first step. The Defense Department and intelligence community have a lot of work to do before we can actually understand whether these aerial threats present a serious national security concern. Adam Schiff wants to know if these flying objects are a work of a foreign adversary, space debris, or something else entirely. Those who believe in aliens are likely to remain hopeful. There's also a classified version of this report. In Washington, Lucas Tomlinson, Fox News.
We'll be right back with meteorologist Nick Kelly and another look at your weather. Don't go anywhere.
This turned out to be quite an eventful day, mainly during the overnight and morning hours when we had several rounds of moderate to heavy rainfall roll on through. A couple of them right over our time lapse of Indigo Sky Casino and Resort outside of Seneca, Missouri. It was nice to see some breaks in the rain chances and breaks in the cloud cover today because we needed it after we dealt with some strong to even severe thunderstorms to start yesterday evening out. But if we rewind the Skywatch storm tracker, that was one band of moderate to heavy rainfall, another band of moderate to heavy rainfall coming out of central and northeastern Oklahoma. Just led to a lot of rain just within the past 24 hours. 2.9 inches of rain on the average across the entire area. But needless to say, there were some hot spots of more intense rainfall, going to 3.6 inches in Sarcoxy, almost 8 inches around Seneca, 3.5 in Miami, 6 inches in Veneta. And some of our northern counties saw quite a soaking as well, from 5 inches in Lamar to 3 inches in Fort Scott, pushing almost 8 inches around Ladore, Kansas, or areas just north of Parsons as you work through in Neosho County on the Kansas side. So it's no wonder that all this rain has led to flood warnings that will continue into tomorrow, but flash flood and regular flood watches for everybody else, because unfortunately we are not done with our rain chances. It was nice to see a little break in the action this afternoon, but ever since the evening got underway, we've been seeing more thunderstorms and rain start to develop along the Kansas-Oklahoma border. Fortunately, there is one good thing that the storm system did is knock our temperatures down, especially when you compare our highs in the mid-90s yesterday. After we started in the lower 60s, make that upper 60s to near 70 this morning. It was nice to see temperatures back at least into the lower to middle 80s all across the board. But let's break down our weather setup. We are going to continue to see rain and thunderstorm chances fill in across Oklahoma and into Missouri overnight, as long as our main storm system at the surface is going to stick around. And let me tell you, this is not in a hurry to move along. When you couple that with an active upper level setup, especially this upper low in the northern plains, it is setting us up for days of rain chances in our forecast, and that does include tonight and our Sunday. Here's the overnight by 3 a.m. A good area of rain and thunderstorms, nothing severe, but again, the strongest of these storms, just more moderate to heavy rainfall that we don't need. Our rain chances will continue through the morning, maybe a little break in the afternoon to start it out at least, before we see another round of thunderstorms develop as we go into late afternoon and into the evening. 69 in the morning, 78 by noon. I think we'll see highs back near 83 degrees as we head into Sunday afternoon. And then as we head towards Sunday night and Monday morning, we'll have some scattered storms possible to start the morning drive out. And then another chance for some scattered storms with highs again staying in the 80s. So just within the next 2 days alone, rain chances are going to be up there in spots where on the low end we could see about ½ an inch to almost 2 inches, but any heavier pockets we could see those amounts push up to about 3 inches of rainfall. So as we roll in the 7-day forecast, the rain chances unfortunately stick with us, but at least it keeps temperatures in check. 83 Sunday, 84 Monday, lower to middle 80s continue through Thursday. Then the system finally starts to get out of here on Friday with highs near 84, and we'll start to dry out with highs near 80 on Saturday, Mike.
Well, thanks again, Nick Kelly. And Nick, I don't know what to say except for yikes. Check out this giant pileup at the Tour de France. CNN reports that during the first stage of the race, a fan with a cardboard sign got in front of the pack, but didn't get out of the way before German cyclist Tony Martin smacked into him. And as you can see, it resulted in there's the guy with the sign. It resulted in a domino effect with a ton of cyclists tumbling. CNN also says the accident led to the race's first withdrawal after a cyclist was injured. All right, stay tuned, sports fans. George is 2 minutes away from Danny Terzer and your KOAM News at 9 Sports Report.
Carthage's Haven Shepherd is headed to Tokyo. The 18-year-old spent last weekend at a meet in Minneapolis and at its conclusion found out that she was named to the Women's Paralympic swim team. Shepherd will be competing in the 100-meter breaststroke and the 200 IM. She'll be training here at home for the next handful of weeks before she leaves on August 15th. Shepherd says her goal in Tokyo is to just have fun and do her best. Here's her thoughts on reaching this long sought after goal.
Definitely a lot of sacrifice. You know, I've missed so many things. I missed weddings and birthday parties, which birthday parties come around every year. But like just graduation, I missed a lot of big things, and it's so rewarding that I got to make the team because it all seemed like it was worth something.
You can find the full story on Haven Shepherd on the sports page on KOAMNewsNow.com. The Outlaws spend another week at the top of the South Division, their record now 9-6. Tonight, they begin a 2-game road series against the St. Joe Mustangs. It's 4-3 Joplin in the 6th. Brandon Ulmer's got 2 RBI. The struggling Cardinals have dropped their last 5 games, including the first 2 games in their home series against the Pirates. The division matchup continues today. 2 men on, Yadier Molina knocks one through the gap for a base hit. That sends Dylan Carlson home from second. He makes it in plenty of time. Cards up 1-0. Next inning, Paul DeYoung sends this one over the wall in left. Solo home run. And the Pirates will do the same. Gregory Polanco with a homer to cut the Cardinals' lead in half. Then Paul Goldschmidt gets home run number 11, but this one is 470 feet. Absolutely crushed this one. The Cardinals win it 3-1. The Royals down in Texas through the weekend, looking to even up the series against the Rangers here in Game 2. Kansas City gets shut out 8-0 with just 3 hits. That'll be their 4th loss in a row. Royals get one more shot at the Rangers on Sunday. We'll be back with more news after this.
Welcome back. In Chile, sea lions took over a beach in a port city, and locals are dubbing the invasion a plague. Footage out of the Chilean town of Tome showed hundreds of sea lions resting on a beach. Local authorities believe these sea lions are seeking refuge from a group of killer whales off the coastline. Locals have been advised not to feed the mammals as they are a wild species. We're not done talking about animals here on your KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14. And when we return, you'll learn about a couple of animal rescues, including this pot-bellied pig who was left high and dry in Las Vegas. That story and more are next. A Good Samaritan in Las Vegas helps save a severely overweight pot-bellied pig. The person reportedly found the pig inside a dog kennel abandoned on the side of the road. Fox News' Maddie White has that story.
I'm here at the Animal Foundation, and this is where animal control officers bring neglected or abandoned pets when they come across them out in the field. And while I'm told abandoned kittens, like this litter of 5-day-old kittens, are especially common in the summer months during cats' breeding season, vets here also welcomed an abandoned pig this week. Her name? Cupcake, because they say she's both sweet and more than a little round.
Cupcake was brought to us by a Good Samaritan. Unfortunately, she was found in a dog crate, abandoned. She's been found to be severely overweight and her hooves were really overgrown. We were able to bring her in and have her sedated for a hoof trim. It's hard to say if Cupcake was being overfed. Certainly if she was in a dog crate, it's possible she wasn't getting any exercise.
Crabtree says the 175-pound pig appears to be feeling a little better after some TLC from the vets here at the Animal Foundation. If you're interested in adopting Cupcake or the kittens, just head to animalfoundation.com to learn more.
I'd say one good animal rescue story deserves another. An Arizona man is thanking his lucky stars after a rescue team retrieved his dog after it fell 100 feet into a mine shaft. Fox News' Jennifer Martinez explains what happened.
My dog is fine after a 100 feet drop. That's amazing.
This is 1-year-old Shelby, and just a few days ago, she was at the bottom of a mine shaft in Mojave County after taking a tumble.
A little bit of water down in there, but not much, and rocks and other wood down in there. So somehow it was just a miracle that she just hit perfect somewhere, and it's just amazing.
Shelby's owner, Robert Badura, tells me he and his friend went to check out the Catherine Mine north of Bullhead City on Saturday. And while they were taking photos and checking out the tunnels, Shelby, who usually stays put, had ventured off.
Oh, we're just kind of looking around, and then all of a sudden I hear this thump. And so I started going through every single corridor in the mine and trying to find out where the dog was and calling the dog, and didn't hear anything. And then we looked down there and it's way down there.
For 5 hours, Mojave County Sheriff's Office, animal enforcement, and search and rescue teams worked hard to get Shelby out, using technical gear to lift her back to safety. Robert is grateful Shelby only had a few bumps and bruises.
Basically down around just underneath her leg on the front leg. And then the back leg, it was just kind of like she must have rubbed against something when she was falling.
Well, I'd love to see a happy ending, especially with dogs. All right. Thanks so much for tuning in on this Saturday evening. We'll see you tomorrow for more KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14. Have a great night. Stay safe out there.